Hey fellow skeptics, Lester the Skeptic here. I'm going to do what I can to lay out a concise reading of what I unboxed. You might see this before the whole treatise behind my unboxing the actual book. I believe it's still in the middle of processing. It might be done. So don't be surprised if this comes out, if I do this right, if this comes out before the video I just uploaded maybe a few hours ago already. So, to start, this is in the prologue. To succeed, you must fail. I would never write anything that suggests the path to success is a continuum of positive, even euphoric experiences, that if you do all the right things, everything will work out. Frequently, it doesn't. Often, you crash and burn. This is part and parcel of pursuing and achieving very ambitious goals. It is also one of the profound lessons I have learned during my career, namely that even when you have an organization brimming with talent, victory is not always under your control. Rather, it's like quicksilver, fleeting and elusive, not something you can summon at will, even under the best circumstances. Almost always, your road to victory goes through a place called failure. And I just flipped the page. Pursuing your ambitions, especially those of any magnitude, can be grueling and hazardous and produce an agonizing failure along the way, but achieving those goals is among life's most gratifying and thrilling experiences. The ability to survive and overcome the former to attain the latter is a fundamental difference between winners and losers. I've observed that if individuals who prevail in a highly competitive environment have any one thing in common besides success, it is failure and their ability to overcome it. Crash and burn is part of it, so are recovery and reward. As you're about to see, I experience more than my share of both. In the process, I've discovered a few things worth sharing, a few lessons worth learning. So I'm going to skim a page or two. So, how to know if you're doing the job. When I give a speech at a corporate event, I often ask those in attendance, do you know how well to tell if you're doing the job? As heads start whispering back and forth, I provide these clues. If you're up at 3 a.m. every night, talking into a tape recorder and writing notes on scraps of paper, have a knot in your stomach and a rash on your skin, are losing sleep and losing touch with your wife and kids, have no appetite or sense of humor, and feel that everything might turn out wrong, then you're probably doing the job. This always gets a laugh, but not a very big one. Those executives in the audience recognize there is a significant price to pay to be the best. That price is not something they laugh at. So, quick unboxing. I got word that my other Prime delivery came in, and so thankful that as far as pricing for the service goes, I appreciate that they've been able to give me an option that I just need the delivery timing. I'm not too big on a lot of what Prime has to offer, but I do like the convenience that it can give folks like us, consumers. And so part of that, when they talk about doing the job, I'm going to flash it real quick, just in case the quote overlords take notice. So this will be my training aid, kind of part of the job. When we talk about doing the job, and I've, for better or worse, my previous parish priest mentioned something to the effect, what I'm doing is a job. So I've kind of taken that, and whatever I'm asked to do, that is my job. Whether I find myself wholly worthy, at least those entrusting me to do those jobs, I gotta pay it forward, gotta show my thanks for seeing something in me, maybe something I don't see myself, maybe I'm selling myself short. In other aspects, even though I would like to consider myself a lifelong martial artist, and that means that is a lifelong job, whether I take that as an actual occupation or not. But part of doing the job is doing the prep, doing the training, as painstaking as it can be, whether that's improving my conditioning, improving my overall habits. But then there are some skills that I've learned in the 3 classes, going back to my time completing the trifecta of classes. So without giving too much away, you'll, like I said in my last few videos about that trifecta of classes, you'll be brought along the mindset train and how that trickles into everything else going on, whether we're talking about tactics, which then will be followed by the skills you learn. And from the skills you learn, you'll find the appropriate gear. Though gear is low in the totem pole, training those in the proper context will help you do the job. So for people who are in their 20s on and they're still doing what are typically termed as martial arts, whether we're talking traditional martial arts or what are considered MMA type or non-traditional martial arts, that there are going to be 360, there is a 360 degree perspective one should have now that you've adulted, for the lack of a better term. So part of that is this item I purchased will allow me to practice the movements with more safety. It will allow me to practice what the trifecta tried to bring out, which is being able to do things in the context of the fighting experience, where I think I linked you guys to the Pillars of Fighting by the late James Yeager, and the mindset of keep on fighting, and in the realm of that experience where your adrenaline is heightened and all of that stuff coming with that reality when your adrenaline is racing and it's getting elevated at a moment's notice. And so to practice that, you can't exactly simulate the adrenaline rush, but at least if you practice it the right way, you programmed your body. And as I mentioned, everyone has their P. That is a very personal summation, a personal calculation, which accounts for your mental makeup, your physical disposition, whether you have certain impediments to keep in mind or work around. But as long as you know what you need to train, you will get the appropriate gear based off of the previous 3 tenets. Again, starting with mindset, tactics, skills. And then once you know that, then you kind of know what skills you need to hone and then what gear will enable you to take care of those other 3. It's not the other way around. You need to be guided by something. So when I talk about the 360 perspective, I'll take JKD for example. JKD gave me a 360-degree perspective of a dueler's context if I was in a ring. and you can see all the dimensions that are available to you in a one-to-one context. Now, if you introduce another person, well, still in a dueler's mindset, yes, the strategy will change, but the context is more or less the same. Particularly if they still start with people squaring off and then there's a signal, go. Again, not to downplay it totally, but it's a different signal to the mind. Whereas when it comes to when you take it out and you're trying to apply your skills that you've learned wherever you've learned them, and you want to apply them realistically with the other 360 degrees, the uncertainty of time and place, the players, contacts, would-be contacts, or would-be assailants, for lack of a better term, those who would want to do you harm. Things coming at you, legal parameters, how do you deal with the legal part of it? How do you deal with the aftermath of the incident if such an incident occurs? That's the other way of looking at the 360-degree perspective. So it's taking all that into account. And so the skills you would learn around that context is training how to verbal, training how to use your peripheral vision, which again, that is a bigger thing that I've learned. If anything, if I were to take one or two things, is that I'm not training my peripheral vision enough. And I don't know if others are. In some ways, if I remember when I was in that short time for ROTC, they've harped on the use of peripheral vision. So that's part of doing the homework. And to feed that into everything else in society, the homework is the not so pleasant stuff. It is the grind, if you will. The grinding to do the things unpleasant for many. But the idea is, at least from my perspective and the faith tradition from which I was raised, and I, in my mind, continuing, is that I have to find the joy of maybe what may come, or the solace that may come, and that at the end of the day, whenever I do that grind, whenever that is completed, I should feel a sense of confidence. Not overglowing, not boastful, but it's just, I'm at peace. Each step I take will better prepare me. So, just as my friend Dr. Pepper would say, he finally revealed it to me years after the fact, where my goal, not to, I hope I don't misquote him, he said my goal was, head knowledge was the goal and performance is the path. Meaning that we only met once a week. So every other day before that would be days to do the homework. So just like any kind of thing that I've done, whether that's workshops, seminars, or even a private lesson I did with Jerry Wetzel over at Red Zone, that's homework for me to do. That's stuff for me to work on. And then that's great and well. Then how do I tie that in? That's where the fun challenge begins and ends. So, all right. Hope this isn't too long-winded. I probably have another video lined up. And oddly enough, thankfully these come in physical form, and that they're still being made. Who knows? For whatever stinking reason, the overlords might take it away. I guess without going too far, but I suppose 3D printing may be a thing, but thankfully it's not the thing. So there's always a case to be made about owning physical media. All right, fellow skeptics, thanks again for taking time. Peace out until the next video.